What is going on, Movie Meals? Here, spoilers, Game of Thrones finale last night. I rewatched it today. I watched a couple reviews, videos, read a lot of stuff on Twitter, had conversations with people I really respect. I respect their opinions because I wanted to take it in. I wanted to give it a rewatch. I wanted to really think over this finale and think over the show as a whole and give you my thoughts. So here's my review, my reaction to Game of Thrones Season 8, the final episode. The show is over, and let's get into it. I liked it. I did. I liked the finale. Let's just get into the spoilers immediately. I liked it opening up with the mix of snow and ash, to show maybe that, Dany was the winner all along. I don't know, but to show that, to see the discord between Grey Worm and Jon walking through the city, Tyrion. Let's just get right into that. Tyrion this episode was fantastic for me. I loved the scene of him finding his siblings. Seeing Jaime's hand there and then uncovering them together and his tears, because no matter what you say about this show, and again, I am coming from a place of somebody who knows a lot about the books. I know a lot of events in the books, but that's maybe 15 to 20% of the real knowledge of the books. I admit that. I'm going to read them this summer. I'm excited to read them this summer. I've been wanting to read them after the show. So I'm just going off of the show here. I'm going off of the show, and I think Tyrion in this episode, everything he had was fantastic. I thought his performance was absolutely brilliant. I ate it up and I loved it. To see this whole show from start to finish, he's been about his family. No matter how many times Cersei has wronged him, you see it in season 7 when he talks to her that he's willing to, say specific things to her, and that he really did love her children. And again, we saw that with episode 5, the conversation he had with Jaime. Jaime's the only one who ever thought of him a monster. That conversation is fantastic. And I loved seeing him, his performance. His performance was so good when he found his siblings, to show the real depth and how it crushed him. And then to follow and to see Dany kind of go, being honest, a little Hiller. She's given this speech in the different language, and even though Jon doesn't understand it, Tyrion doesn't really understand what she's saying, they know, she's kind of become a tyrant, and you can see that. And then the conversation where we follow that, where Jon is in the cell with Tyrion talking, I thought it was brilliant. I thought Jon was just completely conflicted. That Jon has known one thing his entire life. Jon has sought after one thing, and one thing has always been on his, or two things, I guess. 2 things in total. One thing has always been on his mind, who is he? And another thing is always he's had to stop the White Walkers. And the second that ended, and he found out all of it, he's like, who am I anymore? He's a conflicted person, and he's fallen in love during this journey. Again, he never thought he'd fall in love again, and he did. And he saw what this person had become, that this is not what his idea of free. And that conversation they have, the bringing it back to Maester Raymond, I thought was incredible. And that's such great detail in the writing to remember that, to call back to those lines, that, love is the death of duty. And I love that Tyrion adds on to it, 2 wise men, and he says, duty can be the death of love as well. And it needs to be in this situation, because she is not going to be a good leader. She's going to keep burning people down. And I see the switch. Again, I get that it feels rushed for a lot of people. The finale felt more rushed to me than anything yet. I still liked it, and that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to hate it. You can have nitpicks, internet. I'm so mad at the internet right now. It's absurd. But we'll get there. The things I loved, I really liked that, though. I loved that conversation, and I liked that Jon, he took her out, and it was something I thought might happen. Jon's been my boy. Jon and Robb, I'm a Stark fan. They were the ones I rallied around the most throughout this show, and you know, they're the ones I relate to a lot. And you know, that's the greatest thing about the show is you relate to different characters, the different arcs. You know that you've either been, you know, not necessarily through the same stuff, but you've been through similar things. You connect in certain ways. That's the best thing about the show, and the writing and the acting. And I loved that John, he had to take her out, and I got it. And that scene I thought was really, really brilliant. And I thought the dragon Drogon showing up, and John's ready for it. He's saying, you know, I'm going to be taken out here. And you know, first of all, Drogon pushing Dany, like, hey, get up, like a dog would do, is heartbreaking to me. It's heartbreaking because you have learned the connection that they've had with the dragons, that she's had with the dragons, especially Drogon, and it really was powerful. Now let's get into one of the biggest criticisms I've seen everywhere. Is that I wanted Drogon to attack Jon, and I wanted Jon to show his true lineage and who he is. And I needed to see that. I wanted to see him arise from the flames and ride off with Drogon. I wanted to see him and Drogon take over. Why didn't Drogon hang out with him? That's all I have seen. Get over it. That's my opinion on it. I'm very fired up. I've been down so many rabbit holes. I did it to myself, though. What am I talking about? But, you know, don't get over it. But, if that's a true criticism, I understand it. Just have it come from a place of true debate, true honesty, true reasons to back it up. Don't just yell into the void. That's what I'm hating on right now. But again, I didn't need that. We've seen throughout the show, and a friend of mine pointed out to me after the episode how, you know, in past episodes they've talked about how dragons are incredibly intelligent and at times can be more intelligent than humans. That they were known as being such intelligent creatures. And obviously Drogon, we've seen Drogon acknowledge who Jon is. We've seen the dragons acknowledge who Jon is, that he does have Targaryen blood. Is he a dragon? He's not pure-blooded. He's got half Stark blood in him. And, you know, it's said later that, you know, he favors his mother. You don't favor your father, you must favor your mother. And it's to me, it's a little bit of foreshadowing that it did favor the Starks. Had he had the blonde hair, we would have been screwed from day one. But I liked it, and I liked that the dragon, like, respected it in a way to me and said, hey, the dragon probably acknowledged you killed her, and then he takes out the throne. And he doesn't take Jon out. And I like that. I like that he says, you are a Targaryen. I'm going to let you go. That's how I figured it. That he said, I'm going to let you go, but she wanted this. And now no one gets it. And that's how it felt to me, that the dragon was saying that, and then Drogon took him off. Why just because Jon is heir to, is a half Targaryen, has Targaryen lineage, turns out that he is supposed to be, he is heir to the throne, a throne he never wanted. He's consistently stated he's never wanted power. His whole entire time in this show has never wanted it. Why does he have to get on a dragon and ride it? I get people want to see that. I would love to see it. I've also seen him ride a dragon. I don't know why we needed Drogon to pick him up and Jon to ride off to Winterfell or ride off somewhere with Drogon. I don't get it. I love that Drogon said, I'm not yours, man. I get you're a Targaryen, but just because your dad was supposed to be the heir to the throne and you have a better claim than her doesn't mean you deserve it. Why does he deserve to just suddenly ride Drogon? Drogon's an intelligent dragon. Did the dragons get taken out kind of easy in the show? Yeah, they did. I don't disagree with that. Did the ambush kind of not work? Yeah, a little bit. It's a little bit of shock value, but it happened. That's what they decided to do. But in the end, I love that Drogon just took him. Took Dany and left and said, hey, I'm not going to kill you, but you're not getting the throne. No one's getting the throne. Or at least Jon's not getting the throne, and flew off. And I love later that Bran's like, where's Drogon? We probably can't let him have a dragon out there. I'll find him. And, I like that. So to me, the Jon thing worked. Continuing with what worked, I did think they'd do a little bit of time skip. I thought it would be like a year or two, and instead it was about a couple weeks. It seemed like they were starting to rebuild the city a little bit, rebuild the castles, and figure things out. Tyrion and Jon had been put in a cell. And I liked it. I was okay with it. I liked it. I liked that they had got all the few lords left who kind of have any power together to talk about what should happen next. I liked that. I liked the play that, Sam's like, why don't we not have a king? And they all laugh at him. I love that because that's not how the show works. That's not the show. And why should they just suddenly do it? It worked for me. I liked it. I loved the Edmure stuff. I loved him coming back. I loved that he's like, I'm a veteran of 2 wars. So and Sansa's like, hey, cousin, sit down. Come on, let the others talk. I love Sir Davos during the vote saying, I don't know if I get a vote, but all right, which probably Brienne probably should have been in that same boat a little bit, but again, Brienne becomes the Kingsguard, and I love that. And, Tyrion's speech, I really loved. Again, Tyrion killed it this whole episode. He killed it. He delivered, and the writing delivered for him. I loved those conversations, and I loved his speech, and I'm going to be completely honest, and I'm sorry, Internet, I'm sorry. I never saw Bran being king as a possibility. It's something I never had cross my mind. I'm sorry. I didn't see the poll you saw. I didn't see the betting odds that ESPN put out that I was told about later. I didn't see any of that. I was a big Jon, Dany is taking the throne, maybe Tyrion, Sansa comes into play. I never thought Bran would take the throne because of how Bran has acted. I don't want it. I can't be Lord of anything. I can't be this. And he comes to the meeting, and Tyrion gives this speech of, and people are forgetting, Tyrion sat down with Bran and said, it's a story I'd like to hear in episode 2. He heard all of Bran's story. We didn't see it on screen. Would we have liked to? Yeah, I would have liked to. I would have really liked to. Did we? No, we didn't. And that's okay. I'm fine with the choice. Would I have kind of preferred it? Yeah, probably. I would. But we didn't get it. And I liked it. He gives this talk about stories, and maybe we should have the person who can see the past and see the present be the one in charge of ruling our future. And I think Bran, through his studies of the world and the knowledge he has as the supercomputer, and the conversation he may have had with Tyrion. Maybe Tyrion said to him, you should probably be king. In that conversation they had at Winterfell that night. We didn't see it on screen, though. That's true. We didn't. Maybe they had it, maybe they didn't. I don't know. I don't write the show. Would I have liked to see it? I don't know. I don't know how I would have reacted had Tyrion at some point, if we had seen that conversation and Tyrion said, you'd make a good king. Then I would have been like, oh, he's gonna be king. I would have probably thought that. I had no idea that Bran was in play. So when he's given this speech that the past should be our future and it should be Bran, I loved it. I really liked it. It made sense from a story context for me. The surprise delivered for me. And so I really, really dig it. I really liked it. I love that Sansa, he's like, his thing don't work. He ain't making no babies. And I love that Tyrion's like, good. We'll figure out a new way to pick a ruler. Everybody, and he even says that to Dany last season. He says, we're gonna have to think of a ruler. It's somebody beyond you. You said you can't have children. There's many ways to figure it out. I love that was the decision, and the surprise worked for me. That's Game of Thrones. Every time you think they're turning left, they turn right. Well, not every time, because there's a few things I predicted. But also, we're in a culture where we predict everything now, and we think of everything, and then if we go in with what we don't get, we get mad. That's the internet now. We got mad because I didn't get what I wanted. You can tell I'm fired up. I guarantee. I know Movie Meals. I'm fired up, and I still have a lot more to go. It's gonna be a long video, but I loved it. I loved it. I loved the council meeting. I loved him fixing the chairs, kind of putting things back in order, and realizing it's never gonna be in order. And I love this new small council. Brienne writing in the book for Jaime was amazing to me. It was amazing writing. He died protecting his queen, and it was such a Brienne thing to do, to truly give him his who he is as a person, or who Brienne is as a person. That she's still gonna honor him, even though he hurt her. She still loved him and was still happy to be with him when they were together. And I loved that scene so much. I love Podrick becoming a knight, part of the Kingsguard. I love that Sansa says, no, the North is done bowing. We were an independent nation. And Bran's just like, all right, I'll consult with you. Good thing we're family. And I liked it. It goes to the 6 kingdoms. And I thought it was really, really good. I really liked that. Jon going to the wall at first bugged me a little bit. because even I was like, this is a cop-out. He's just going to be fine. He's going to be free. He's going to be, it's just a trick. They're tricking Grey Worm into believing it, and they don't. He sends him to the Night's Watch with a couple guys, and he gets there, and it's all the wildlings getting ready to go north and recolonize, and the internet freaked out that he was mean to Ghost, and I had a big suspicious feeling that Ghost was going to come back in the last episode. We were going to see something with Ghost, and they had the reunion that he really deserved. And I love that Jon has always been a wildling, and we've seen this, that he has that freedom in him. He was never more happy than when he was beyond the wall with Ygritte. We never saw him ever really truly be as happy as he was when he was with her there. So he's going with her people to rebuild. And I loved it. And he gives a little smile at the end as he's riding off on the horse, and he says, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with where I ended up, and it ended up working for me. A lot worked. A lot worked for me in this episode. The biggest thing that didn't work for me was Grey Worm. I do like that Grey Worm went to Narth. I thought that was a great moment. But I think Grey Worm gave up too easily at his queen. And that is the biggest thing that bothered me. More than rushing that everybody's complaining about, that didn't bother me as much. Could we have used more episodes? Sure. But you're assuming they would have done it a way you would have liked. There's a big possibility it would have dragged. I get the rushing. I'm going to continue to say it. I get it. I completely understand. I felt it a little bit more in this episode, I guess, than I did in the last episode. But to me, it all worked. I thought it was earned. I don't know if more episodes would have helped. Could they have done another season of another just few episodes? Sure. I've heard that theory where we could have ended with episode 5, made this a 5-season thing, and then really taken like 4 or 5 more episodes to really end the storylines. But I don't think there's a good way to end this show. And I don't really know how what people are expecting. A big battle of Blaze of Glory. I don't know. Would I have preferred Grey Worm to do that? Yes. It was my biggest thing with the show. I think he gave up far too easy. I think people would argue that he just didn't know what to do, so he just went to Narth. That's where he always wanted to go, so that's where he's taken the Unsullied. I think he gave up way too easy. I think one more battle may have benefited, where the Northmen actually end up fighting against the Unsullied. But he gave up to being like, okay, when Tyrion says it's not for you to decide, and he just says, okay, then pick a king and he'll decide. And it's like, but Grey Worm fights really hard that Jon should be executed for what he did. He killed his queen, and they're like, no, let's send him to the Night's Watch. It didn't fully work for me on Grey Worm's point. And same with Yara Greyjoy. She just kind of showed back up, even though she should have probably been fighting. She was still going to be loyal after. She probably should have been fighting with Daenerys at the Battle of Winterfell for me, and should have brought a few of the more than just what Theon brought. I thought those were the 2 things that bothered me the most, and they're nitpicks in a good episode to me. It was a good episode. I don't think the 50% is deserved. I personally would have it higher. It makes sense because so many people don't like it, and it's split down the middle in half. But I liked it. I liked it. I thought it was a good wrap-up. It paid homage. I know there's a big fan base that didn't like how it ended with Arya, that Arya's going off on the boat, and that it was too Return of the King. And of course it was going to be a little Return of the King. That's his thing, man. Of course he was paying homage to Frodo and Lord of the Rings and Tolkien because he was such a fan, and I love that's what Arya's storyline ended so brilliantly for me. So did our Sansa's. I love that Sansa became queen in the North, and that we got a queen, and that she had such a great character arc from start to finish, and I love that they end yelling queen in the North. I love seeing Arya on the ship saying, what's west of Westeros? No one knows. Let's go discover it. People are now online being like, they're going to discover America. There's going to be a spin-off show. Maybe there's a spin-off show. I have no idea. If they do it, I hope they do it well. Excuse me. I hope they do it well, so I like it. So it works for me. I think this show was great. Is this my favorite season? No, it's not. Did this series end as well as for me as some other great series finales? No. Is it one of my favorite shows of all time? Yeah. Am I going to rewatch it a lot? Yeah. I loved it. And Dan and Dave have been writers and creators from the start. And you don't understand. People are just yelling, they didn't have the books, it's all because they didn't have the books. Adapting a script from a novel is very, very difficult. And it shows the talent of a writer and creators that Dan and Dave are, to have done it so successfully and to make so many things work that are not from the books while paying homage to the books, while taking lines from the books and prophecies from the books and adding it and changing it, it shows how good of writers they are. And if you don't think they're going to be good for Star Wars, I think you're nuts. I think they're going to be great for Star Wars. They could still make a bad movie. Star Wars could still be bad. It's possible. I'm very curious to see Gemini Man that David wrote the script for. I'm really curious to see that and see how he handles a big script. I think they still have a shot to make this brilliant, to make Star Wars amazing, because they're great writers. People are yelling, George's books sound probably going to end very similarly, with some slight, character differences and some slight different things. They knew how this was going to end. Arya's going to take out the Night King, I bet. I think Jon is going to end up going over to the wall. I think Jon's going to kill Dany. I think Arya's going to sail off, and Sansa's going to become queen in the north, and Bran will become king. I think all of that is going to happen in the books. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I hope George did not. I hope he really is done with his books. I hope he had his ending in place when they had their ending in place, so that there is no backlash of, well, if he's going to take 20 years to rewrite his books, because he shouldn't. He should tell his story. His story. It's George R. R. Martin's story that he created. He should tell it his way, and I hope he doesn't change anything. I hope the book comes out tomorrow. Both of them. Send both of them out. I hope, and I think he is. And now I'm going to get into my rant, as we're 20 minutes in, of the internet, because I'm sick of it. I am sick of fan bases, movie meals. I am so sick of it. I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to put this as a separate video called I'm Sick of It. And I'm going to put it on our channel. You can't have fun anymore with this stuff, with these big things. You can't have fun anymore. Endgame didn't get it as bad as The Last Jedi did, and The Last Jedi didn't get nearly as bad as Game of Thrones did. And if you don't like things about the show, and you have your opinions about that, and you've read the books, you haven't read the books, and you give a solid, respectful, and good debate, then you are a fantastic human being. But it's all the passive-aggressive comments. It's all the comments of just crapping all over how horrible the writing is. The writing is this. Dan and Dave are terrible. Dan and Dave are awful. They've ruined my life. What is wrong with you? It's a TV show. And I'm sick of you. It is soured. You can't sit down now and have a drink and relax and talk nerd stuff out anymore, because people get so upright crazy about it. Don't be passive-aggressive with one another. Stop it. Just have a real debate. If you don't want to debate, don't do it then. But if you want to talk about it and you want to respect each other and hear what other people have to say, then do that. I've seen so much of it, and I get it. That's my fault. I can avoid Twitter. I get it. But it angers me as a fan that we can't sit and have debates anymore. And it's awful. It hurts. And I'm going to be, I've talked to close friends about it. I've told it to Kyle, who doesn't watch Game of Thrones, today. And he just was like, sorry, man. Because him and I just talk to each other. And I guess that's all him and I have to do, is just talk to each other about this stuff. But it's just so bad, because there's nothing better than taking 3 hours of your night hanging with friends and getting in a deep conversation about what in Star Wars and Game of Thrones and Marvel and DC, in Star Trek, in any great, in any show, in Glow and Stranger Things, in Friends, in The Office, in Parks and Rec, in anything, to just sit and talk. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? Why? Why did it work? Here's my reasons why. Here, debate. Get a little heated. A little heated, it's okay. It's great. But what's not great is all this passive-aggressive crap. And I'm so sick of it. You can't have fun anymore. You put online, I like the episode, and 8,000 people scream and yell at you that you're a terrible person. And it's awful. It's all it is. And now it's turned into, it's always sexist. It's always racist. It's always this. And I get it. I'm a white male preaching it, but it's just hard. It's just hard, movie meals. There's movements online that, of course they made Dany horrible because she's a woman. And of course, you know, she burned people down because she's a woman, or this or that. And, you know, I've heard women critics say they didn't get that at all, and they completely disagree. I've seen some that I respect on Twitter that I follow. I read their reviews all the time who say that it did hit for them, and I respect that opinion. For me, there's no fun in it anymore. Nothing is fun about it anymore. You can't talk about it. It sucks. You barely have conversations about it anymore in my life. We used to, guys, 6 years ago, I used to talk nonstop, all day and night, getting these great debates, great arguments, and you just can't do that anymore. I'm lucky that I still have a small pocket of my friends in one chat where, for the most part, we usually have really good, respectful debates and we respect one another. There, every now and then you get a little heated as friends do. Then you clear it up and you move on. But I'm lucky that I've got a small pocket of 6 friends that really watch this stuff and really will debate with me. But everything else is just so passive-aggressive. Stop being passive-aggressive. If you don't want to talk about the show, don't talk about the show. If you want to talk about the show, talk about the show in a respectful and great manner. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And it fires me up because I saw it with The Last Jedi. I like The Last Jedi. Do I love I really love The Last Jedi. Is there everything in the movie I love absolutely? No. Everything in Game of Thrones? Is this season my favorite? No, it's not. Guess what? There's stuff in Game of Thrones I found very boring. Arya training back in the day bores me. That whole play episode bores the crap out of me. I don't think it's one of the best well-written episodes they have. Some early Dany stuff is so boring, and I don't know if it's always well-written. Because sometimes Dan and Dave, something just didn't work for me. A lot of it does. Most of it does. And that's why they're great writers, and especially that they're not willing to give the audience what they want. They're not DC, and I'm taking a shot. Sorry, Kyle. DC was so trigger happy for so long. Let's make Justice League because of the Avengers. Let's do this because that's what people want. This is what people want. This is what people want. I'm terrified that that's what going to be The Last Jedi is going to be. It's just going to give you what you want. At least Game of Thrones takes right and left turns, switches things up all the time, and I love that. Sometimes you will expect it, sometimes you won't. Sometimes it'll be this, sometimes it won't. That's the best thing about Game of Thrones. They've done that since day one. Did things get built up and maybe not have a payoff? Sure. I'm sorry. Jon's heritage for me is fine because really in the end, it only mattered to Jon and Dany in the storyline. I didn't need to see him get burned alive by a dragon because I know he's a Targaryen. His lineage doesn't matter as much. Maybe in the books it will. I can't wait to read them and find out. I don't know. Bran's payoff worked really well that he's, his line of, why do you think I'm here? Because he learned, he knows, he understands how the world worked, that he probably is the best choice. Someone who doesn't have emotion, one side or the other, is a great choice for king. I loved that. Did Arya use the faceless thing the last 2 seasons? No, except for Walder Frey. Is that okay? Yes! It's okay. It worked for me. It's fine. I liked it. If you didn't like it, cool. Comment below. Let me know why you didn't like it with respect and love. And let's debate and let's talk and have fun again instead of yelling and screaming into the void in your mom's basement like a weirdo. It grinds my gears. So yeah, some things didn't pay off for me. Grey Worm didn't pay off for me. Some things did pay off. Robb never paid off for me. Robb was King of the North. He was the young wolf, and he got murdered, and it really bothered me. And he should come back. We think we should petition to reshoot just season 3, not season 8. Let's reshoot all of season 3 and keep Robb alive and then reshoot everything else because Robb is the one true heir to the throne. I don't know. There's no throne anymore. It doesn't matter. Bran's just in charge, and that's cool with me. So guys, what did you think? I went on a long tangent. Those are my thoughts on the episode. Please comment below. Let me know what you thought. And please, please, please respect one another. Put your comments. If you completely disagree with everything I said, if you hate this season, hate the episode, great. I want to hear from you. But do it respectfully. Don't yell into the void. Give me your points. Give me your logics. Why it didn't work. It worked for me. It didn't work for you. Let's find out. If you agree, let's find out. I can't wait to have the conversation and have good conversations. Let's #bring good conversations back. Let's bring fandoms back. Let's reunite. Let's end passive aggressiveness. I love it. All right, guys. Comment below. Do that. Like, subscribe, share as always. And thanks for watching, Mom. See you guys.